Brian, this is such a pleasure. I can't even begin to tell you. I was at the Hermitage in September. The tomb was vandalized in April. Very, very disturbing. I hope that you will use the influence you have to start pushing prosecutions for these people who are doing this stuff.
Yeah, a couple of things. I'm on the board now of the Hermitage. In the beginning, they didn't embrace it because I guess they didn't, I'm not too sure they were too fond of Fox, but after a while, they were really fond of Fox. So now I'm on their board. That costs tens of thousands of dollars to bring in experts. I forgot what they call them, but you can't use antiquity experts to go and rehab that tomb. They have no cameras. Believe it or not, there's no cameras.
They do now.
They do now. So I don't know if they can
24/7
prosecute.
now.
Yeah, I don't know if they can prosecute, but it does look good again. Can you believe it? He was buried before the Civil War, and the first time he was defiled was 2017. We did cover that on Fox and Friends.
The other thing I wanted to just tell you, you said you're doing a book on the Alamo and General Houston. I learned on the tour at the Hermitage that Sam Houston was making visits to the Hermitage to see Andrew Jackson.
Constantly.
It's possible Texas was born at the Hermitage.
No question. And not to get too much in the weeds, but John Quincy Adams and Andrew Jackson had this rivalry. He believed the Louisiana Purchase, we got Texas. And John Quincy Adams said, if you give us Florida, we'll give you Texas. He says, you don't have to give up Florida. I would have taken Florida without a deal. He would have, and he did. And they gave up Texas. There was a great argument that's still out there today that if you look at the deal, we got Texas. We never should have been Mexico's. And John Quincy Adams just wanted a smooth transition to get the Spanish out of Florida. And Jackson says, I basically did that already. So that was part of it. Sam Houston fought against the Red Sticks. And a 20-something-year-old, a big guy, 6'3", fought so gallantly under Jackson, he got wounded 3 times. Wounded and bleeding. They wanted to finish him off before night fell. He said, is there any, Jackson walked over to sickbay and goes, does anyone I know you guys are hurting, but can anyone fight? We're having one more surge. Houston goes, I'm fine with that. Sure enough, he leads the battle, gets shot in the thigh, gets shot in the arm. He would actually ooze the rest of his life. Those wounds would never heal. They said to him, to Sam Houston, we're not going to bother taking the bullets out of you because we don't think you're going to last the night. He lasted the night. He lasted the next night, and they said, we probably should have taken the bullets out of you. He ended up having oozing infections the rest of his life, but then he got brought to Washington. What did he see? It leveled and burned to the ground. Do you think you had to tell him again how fragile democracy is and how special America was? Never. He fought to the last day to avoid the Civil War to the point where Lincoln was sending emissaries, because he was governor of Texas, to say, if you just stay out of it, I'll provide all the help you need and protection. But Texas voted to fight with the South, and therefore he didn't stay out of it. So I'm telling you too much, but I'm just fascinated by the relationship between the two.
I believe that the first woman president will be from the Republican Party. Do you think that there is a woman that would be in a good position for that?
Yeah, very simple. Nikki Haley. Governor, a mom, the wife of a military, wife of a husband who's in the military, already knows how to run a state, tremendous compassion in times of terror, which would happen in that Carolina church. I have never seen anyone do a better job as UN ambassador in my lifetime than her. Goes along with Donald Trump, who's unorthodox, gets it. Remember, she was with Rubio, and she didn't sacrifice anything in order to do what she did. And she was so smart, she said, I'll take this job if I could talk directly to you. So her and the president spoke constantly. Almost nothing she said, the president didn't know about ahead of time. And man, brilliant. Pompeo's been brilliant too. I think he's going to run. But to answer your question, I think Nikki Haley. Also, I think, you know who's going to be a star? Liz Cheney. She's going to be speaker.
Can you tell us what you're comfortable telling about your family, like father, siblings, wife, and kids? Just to know who you are.
Yeah. I had a great family. I have 3 kids. One's 22, one's 17, one is 16. And I just remember, it seems like yesterday when I was saying 12, 8, and 6. I mean, I can't believe I have a 22-year-old son who's now working with the XFL because he wants to get into the player side of football. And he doesn't want marketing or sponsorship. And I'm going, oh my goodness, you got to break into the NFL somehow. extremely tough. Just like this, my thing took me 12 years to be an overnight success. So he got a job with the XFL, which is going to be launching in the spring and has a relationship with the NFL. My other daughter is going to be going to Skidmore if early decision. She's going to play soccer there in Saratoga Springs, a great independent school, and she wants to teach. And my other daughter joined a gang and doesn't live at home. No, she's 16, soccer and basketball player, and it's a fun house. I got a great wife, and it's Dawn. Sounds like I'm reaching for her name, but I know it sounded bad to hesitate on her name. But on Monday it'll be our 25th wedding anniversary, and we met in high school. And I have 2 dogs who are really big, Great Pyrenees. Yeah.
Brian, thanks for being here.
Thanks for the invite.
By the way, if you think it's snowing, you got to come back. That's not snow. Hey, I read your first 2 books, Washington and Jefferson, compelling read. It reads, it's a page turner. It's just like you're there. How do you do your research? How long does it take? And how do you have the capacity to make it feel like you're right there?
Thank you, by the way. And the one thing I did is I got a lot. I think of it as Fox gets things moving. If you notice, by the way they move through stories, they basically gut the flower. Like sometimes you look at their stories, our stories in news, it'd be last night about 9:05, 2 shots were fired. Next thing you know, you feel like you're in the middle of a story. Fox learned taught me to write actively. People are in a rush. You got to move. You got to keep it going. Between sports and the Foxizing it, keeping things moving. People don't have a lot of time, and the short attention span, which I hope exists in the next generation, and I want them to like these books. I do that. In the research, if it wasn't for the kindness of people at these libraries, I would not be nowhere. And with electronics, I couldn't do it. I go back and forth with libraries now without leaving my house. Well, going back, I'm able to pull documents in by leaving my house. So it's been unbelievable. And I go to these spots. The first thing I do is go to the spots. What Fox Nation allowed me to do is they're actually paying me to go to the spots. I was not going to do it until I went to the Alamo, and then I stayed. Ken Burns was promoting something, and I go, okay. He goes, "What's your next book?" I go, "I don't really have an idea. I'm going to the Alamo on Friday." He goes, "Well, if you go to the Alamo, go to San Jacinto." I go, "What?" He goes, "San Jacinto." So I had to call his office a month later. I go, "What are you talking? What is San Jacinto?" He goes, Jacinto. So I looked it up. He goes, the greatest undertold story ever. It's 18 minutes. We win this battle. So he pushed me on it. The Alamo, they hired me again. Next thing you know, I had 4 visits to the Alamo, 2 visits to Goliad. Then I went to San Jacinto. Texas does things big. They got the biggest library. They actually have 1 elevator, right? And they have an elevator operator. I feel so bad for this woman. They get so few visitors because very few people. I'm like saying, "Am I your only guy today?" So I walked in. They got one of these elevators where you have to close the fence, you know? So you actually watch, and I'm wondering, is this how I'm going to die? So you go up to the top, and there's people in there, and they just sit there, and they go, "What can we do?" And I'm able to look at photos and go through things, and they say, "Okay, now that we have this relationship, now we can communicate." You got to show them that you're serious and you respect what they do because they want to get their story out. So they help me and they streamline and I go through it. I have an unbelievable editor. I have a historian that helps me out. So it's just a process. What I do is, to give you too much detail, is I do it in chunks. I don't feel like I'm writing a book. I think I'm doing a phase. My first phase is study everything possible. My next phase is to divide it up into sections. My next phase is to list the chapters. The next phase is to write summaries of the chapters. The next phase is to start blowing up the chapters one by one. And at the same time, I got this incredible editor, and she'll stop me and say, "We need to meet." And I'll go meet with her, and she goes, "What are you trying to say here?" And I tell her, and she writes it, and she records it. She goes, "Now here's your chapter the way you want to say it. You have to write it the way you just told me." So that's what, when I say, he goes, "You have to tell the story with your book. Don't be a writer," is basically what she says. So I don't know if I should have told you that. But that's how you do it. She goes, "Sit down, let's talk this through first."
Thanks again, Brian, for the book. One of my dad's favorite jokes growing up was, "When was the War of 1812 fought?" And thanks to this book, I know a little bit more.
A little bit more.
So
It ends in 1850.
Yeah, exactly right. Thank you very much. The quote that I like most from Jackson is, "The Bible is the rock on which this republic rests." And I know that through all your research, I'm sure you found other nuggets of tie-ins to the Christianity and his faith, and things
Well, I got something on that. So if you are Andrew Jackson and your dad dies before you're born, you're living in the backwoods without any food stamps, social programs, but of course there was Medicaid. So you're sitting there, your mom's got to go get 5 jobs, you have an older brother, another brother that's 1 year older, one that's 5 years older, and then a war breaks out when you're 14. You volunteer for that war, you get captured along with your other brother. Your brother gets hit, he gets hit in the head, he keeps a scar the rest of his life. His other brother takes a blow to the head, dies basically in prison, they get him out, but he dies at his house. So his other brother dies of heat stroke in a battle in the Revolutionary War. His mom goes to get a job. He finds out his mom's dead when a trunk of clothes shows up on his doorstep. She died of some disease helping out a cousin trying to earn some extra money as a domestic worker. He's all alone at 14. If anyone should not like God, it's 15-year-old orphan boy Andrew Jackson in the middle of a town without any relatives or friends. But it turns out that town rallied him. His town raised him. His country raised him. His county raised him. He was determined to matter. Instead of being a vagrant or a criminal, he wanted to make his name known. He became a lawyer, a judge, a congressman, a senator, attorney general, a militia general, a regular general, and a 2-term president. He believes that people, instead of saying my life is cursed, he believes he was blessed. So that is the American success story. I thought I was writing about a great president. That's the American dream when it was just a thought and a hope. He made it happen.
I'm going to ask a question, and then we'll wrap up here in just a second. Recently, some guys followed you around.
Yeah.
Video cameras. They've gone after Tucker Carlson in his house. Can you share a little bit about what happened on that video camera issue when they chased you around a little bit?
Yeah. This is a story. Every day for 20 years, I take the subway. I walk to the subway, and I take the train. I was going a little bit different of a way down 7th Avenue in New York City, and there's people who live to hate Fox and Trump like I've never seen before. But I physically never feel threatened, but I'm very cognizant of not giving anybody anything on camera that's going to live forever. So this Israeli couple comes up to me in the street and says, "We watch you every day in Israel." So I take the picture with them, and then I walk a few steps over, and these other guys come up to me, and they're kind of young, like 30-ish, and they go, "Oh, you Brian Kilmeade, can we take a picture?" So he goes to do a selfie. I go, "Yeah, how can I turn them down? Plus, I don't turn people down. I'm going to sign all your books. I like people. I think it's a privilege to have this job." And people don't have to agree with me, but I could talk to them about it. So he takes a picture, and he's rolling video. And I go, "Hey, just put it on a picture." We take the picture. He goes, "Yeah, can I interview you?" I go, "No, not going to do an interview." He goes, "Yeah, what is it like to be Donald Trump's best friend, his key policy advisor?" So I go, "Here we go." So a guy standing like here, and all of a sudden another guy pops up like that. So they start saying things, looking up all horrible, trying to incite like a riot. Fox likes white people only, this guy's a racist, Donald Trump's a racist, Brian Kilmeade's a racist, everyone take a look. So I'm saying to myself, how do you handle this? I'm still not sure I handled it right, but I just decided I got to get home. My daughter's got a game at 4:15. If I miss the 3 o'clock train, I got to wait to 3:45. I'm going to miss her game for these clowns? No. So I go down the subway. They keep going. They go in the subway. They keep going. Now, if I grab you, he rolls on it. The Fox guy loses his temper. If I get in a debate, I give him an interview he doesn't deserve. Post it forever. So he's screaming, trying to incite some crazy stuff in a New York subway, which happens anyway. So I walk out. Then you walk up to Penn Station, and I got to wait for my train in 10 minutes. And I realized I wanted a smoothie, so I got a smoothie. They didn't stop. And I could have went into the police station. It was right on the corner. But I'm like, do I want to look like I need law enforcement? Does that make me look weak? So I just kept going. They didn't stop for 45 minutes. But here's the good news. So I went to the game, and I go, around 6 o'clock, I called Fox, and I go, this is going to get posted. I got to give them a heads up. But I'm pretty sure I didn't give them anything. So I told them. They get scrambled because we have the best security in the world. They feel terrible this happened. And around the next day, around 10 o'clock, it goes up. Well, they got such backlash. By the next day, they pulled it down, and their Twitter accounts went private. I never said a word, but they look, I believe, like such morons, idiots, aggressors, and petty that it kind of worked to get it pulled down as opposed to engaging and saying, what's your problem? I don't advise Donald Trump. There's nobody at Fox is a racist. He's not a racist. Do I really want to get in a debate with two strangers and give them an interview they don't deserve? But that's what you have to deal with now when you go out. If I'm with my family and they did something like they did to the Homeland Security Secretary, like they did to Ted Cruz, like they do to Stephen Miller, throwing out Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I don't know how I would have handled that because that's clearly an aggressive move and they were in your face. But it really alarmed a lot of people at Fox. And they said, you want security? I go, no, I do the same thing every day and I've done the everything since. I hop on a subway to a train. Do you think your traffic's bad? That's nothing compared to New York City. You can't get home to my house after 2 o'clock if you're in a car. And Fox goes, we'll give you a car every day. I go, I don't want one. I get a car on the way in. They're great to do it at 3 o'clock in the morning. But on the way back, they said, you can have a car anytime you want. I go, I want to be in the subway. And I want to be on a train because I know when I'm getting home. So that's a story, but it's a crazy time. But hopefully the whole thing's going to get better. I wouldn't mind a few compromises at the top. I think it'll ripple down to the bottom until any party gets 60 votes and the majority in the House. You're going to have to compromise. I'm tired of not getting anything done. I think at one point we got to start compromising. It's going to tick off big conservatives and staunch liberals, but who cares? We'll start getting things done, and the electorate will respond and decide who's got the better ideas. That's what I hope.